Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We have the privilege of talking to the creators of the new short film, You Can't Have It Both Ways. And you're going to find out why whenever we get into our discussion with them today. First, I'd like to introduce everyone. Jenn Garcia is a producer, Jordyn Aquino, she's writer, producer, actor. Robin Holloway, composer. Stafford Douglas, actor. And MorningStar Angeline is the director of this wonderful short film. I'm going to ask each of them to briefly give us some of their background before we get into the film and why it's something we think you're going to be excited to see. So let's start with Jordyn.
Hi,
Jordyn.
Hello.
So tell us about your background and anything else that you'd like to share with us related to this project, briefly.
Okay, well, my name is Jordyn Aquino, and I am a film and television actress, and now I'm a writer and a producer too, which is exciting. And I've been working in New Mexico probably for the past 5 years or so in this industry. I lived in LA for a little while, was auditioning, working there before the writer's strike. And then that's what brought me to New Mexico. I came out here for school and stayed for the industry. And then with our film, what would I like everyone to know about our film?
It's your first try, right? This is your first film that you worked on, yes. Right? And created.
Yeah, this is the first film that beginning to end, I produced, co-produced, and saw the final product. I've had a lot of little things that I've done on my own that will probably never see the light of day, but this is my first film that made it out into the world, and I'm very excited about it and very proud of our film, and it's a musical. Oh,
wonderful. Yep. Thank you. Let's go to Jenn. Jenn, give us a little bit of background. Jenn also is an amazing producer. She has some good experience that I'd like her to hopefully tell us a little about. Jenn?
Yes, my name is Jenn Garcia. I'm a producer in New Mexico. I've been here about 5 years working in Albuquerque, and I've produced a good number of projects, including branded content and narrative content. My branded content has been broadcast across the US and Australia. And for narrative content, I have produced a short called Piche, which won CineQuest in 2019, qualifying us for the 2019 Academy Awards.
That is impressive. Wonderful. Thank you. Let's go to MorningStar.
Hello. Hello. My name is MorningStar, and I am the director of this short. I am a actor, writer, producer. I know I'm forgetting some things in there, but I try to do it all like a lot of other filmmakers here. I have acted in films that have gone to Sundance, like Drumtown's Finest. I have received the grant and fellowship through the Indigenous Sundance Lab, and I'm currently in pre-production for actually a short film that Jenn is producing by means of introduction of this short film that we're interviewing about today. So already things are happening because of this short.
Wonderful. That's amazing. Stafford.
Yeah.
Jump on in there.
Well, I shall. My name is Stafford Douglas. I am a film and television actor, primarily here in New Mexico. I was born here in New Mexico, and I love it. And then just sort of saw that weirdly the film industry exploded around us in our little state. So been working in film and television for about the past 10 years. I also spend a lot of time in LA and have agents out there. And a writer as well. A couple short films are bouncing around out there. One we're going to release here soon. And I hadn't been on set for, probably coming up on a year because of this freaking pandemic. So when Jordyn hit me up about this, I was incredibly excited. work on
Cool.
something so fun and interesting, but also as relevant as it was, and continues to be, honestly.
Right. Mm-hmm. Great. Awesome. Robin.
Hi, I'm Robin Holloway. I'm a pianist, composer, lyricist. I've done a lot of songwriting. I've done a lot of work over the past few years, especially in musical theater. So I've written a couple musicals. I was, right when COVID hit, I was working on a show called MacGyver the Musical, which I co-wrote the book for. That actually got shut down by COVID. It clipped off the last two performances of that run. And COVID sort of plunged me back into just like a lot of home produced music and songwriting, and kind of getting back to what I could do really on my own without a band around. And when Jordyn came to me with this idea, it was like just so exciting. It's such a great, the timing was amazing. It was still kind of like the germ of an idea of a political statement that was couched in the frame of a relationship, of a very personal relationship. And so that was really interesting to me, because I've written a lot of political satire, a lot of political comedy, and it ends up being great. But this one had a really personal and there's something emotional about it that I really resonated with the idea. And then I felt like as we worked on it, that really came through, and that really became part of the central message of what we created that I really enjoyed. So,
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. So we have this short film called You Can't Have It Both Ways, and it's going out in festivals. You will be able to see a trailer of it as well, and we'll have that linked in the content, so you can at least get a glimpse of it while it's making its tour around the world, virtually speaking. So let's go to Jordyn. And Jordyn, as this was something in your head, tell us a little bit about what inspired you to have that in your head and want to do something about it. And as this is really your first big type of production that you have all of these individuals involved in, tell us a little bit about what it was like to get the help you needed to make this happen.
Well, I had a lot of help from very talented people. That's one of the things that I love so much about this project, is it was a total labor of love from an incredible community of artists. And from start to finish, we were just shy of 7 weeks from the initial conversation that Jenn and I had about wanting to essentially make a musical together. She said, I've always wanted to do a musical film. Because I said, hey, let's make a short. And she goes, I want to make a musical. I said, well, I have a degree in that. We could try. Let's figure it out. I said, okay, well, what about a musical about the current administration? And she said, okay, yeah. And so I pitched her the idea of a woman on a date that's going very, very well. And then she finds out her counterpart is on the other side of the political spectrum. And then what ensues from there. So, going back to trying to answer a bunch of questions at once.
That's fine.
So what inspired it really was I wanted a place to put all of my frustration and need to express just all of the frustration and heartbreak that I think we collectively experienced in 2020. The administration at the time, we were all there for it and we saw what happened. And I was recovering from a surgery during BLM protests and was never able to participate, and I had hoped to. So this film turned into this cathartic project where I could express all of those feelings. And I've never been a very political person. I'm not outwardly open about politics, just because I feel like my belief systems and the things that I would like to teach others, I put that into my art, and I don't really broadcast my beliefs or my politics. But with what happened in 2020 and what we're still dealing with now, I couldn't be silent. And everything that I was feeling, I felt like I was able to channel into this project with this incredible group of people who felt the same way. So the inspiration for the film really came from that. And because it was such a short timeline to go from, yeah, let's make a musical, and 7 weeks later, it was a finished short film. It evolved very quickly and along the way. So I didn't really know what it would be until we got to set, until we were in post. But the song kind of told us what it wanted to be. I had some very clear ideas of what I wanted to present, but how I wanted to present it evolved and kind of told me what it would be with the help of all of these other incredible artists here. So that was a long answer, but I hope that makes sense.
No, that's great. So Jenn, why a musical?
I've just always loved musicals. I haven't really been part of the theater community, but I love going to watch musicals, and I love musical films. And it had just always been a goal of mine to make one. And we've tried before to try to come up with ideas for musicals. And there have been like a few projects that were almost musicals. One of those was with Stafford. It was another short film called Shotgun, and just always close to musicals, but never quite there. And when Jordyn said that she wanted to make a project and asked like if I could make anything, what would I want to make? And I was like, oh, I want to make a musical. And immediately Jordyn was like, oh, I know how to sing.
Which helped.
It really helps.
I was going to say, that's a good thing to have someone who can sing, for sure. Very good. And so Jordyn has that talent, and you're now on your way to making a musical, right?
Yep.
Okay, great. So MorningStar, have you ever directed a musical before?
No, never musical, but I've directed many music videos. So I was like, it's really not that far of a leap.
Okay.
It's just a little bit more of a focus on a narrative. So I felt equipped to do it in terms of experience, but less equipped to do it with time.
Oh, right.
But we just hit the ground running.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. So Stafford, are you singing in this film?
I am not, which I gotta say is a shame. No, actually,
can we redo the credits?
I actually do. It's weirdly, I come from musical theater. That was my entry into acting as a young, painfully awkward former homeschool kid. Was discovering musical theater. And so I did 1.5 million musicals before I discovered film. And so I was very excited to, when Jordyn said, hey, I want you to be in this musical. Less excited when she said, you're not going to sing in it. But then I got re-excited when, I saw how cool it was. So I made Jordyn promise that next time we can both sing in it. But this honestly felt so, I felt so at home in this environment, because it was a film, which is what I've been doing for the past 10 years, mixed with my one true love of expressing yourself through song. So, and then again, like I said, how insanely relevant it was to the time, and all of these things that we wanted to say but weren't really able to because we couldn't be around people because of this pandemic. And it was an incredibly cathartic experience for all of those things kind of convalescing. It was very, very special to me.
Mm-hmm. So do you know all the words?
We had that recording playing about 1,500, like it was all day every day, so I could probably get through most of it at this point. And also it helps that it is just a bop. I mean, I know when I first heard it, I was just like, the work that Jordyn and Robin did, it is, and that's part of why I knew it was gonna work so well, is because the song was just so goddamn catchy,
Right.
And it had this great
catchy
message
here too. Oh yeah. No, we're almost at the know the words 100%.
Yeah.
There's a few places that I don't say them fast enough, and
right.
don't want to ruin it for people watching it, but yeah, it's definitely it's got a great beat. It's got, that music that you just want, the song, the lyrics that you just want to keep singing.
Yeah. It really sticks in your head. And then, you put Robin's orchestrations with that, and then you get Jordyn and her beautiful voice to come in and just knock it out of the park. And it was, it's this wonderful, wonderful piece that also happens to say something really important.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Thanks. Robin.
Yeah.
So tell us your secrets. No, just kidding. You keep your secret sauce, that's fine. But you did sprinkle some magic on this as it was going through. And that's a quick turnaround, you know, from start to finish to have everything done, not just a song, but the production, the narrative, you know, there's so many moving parts in this. Tell us a little bit about your experience with working with these other wonderful people.
Well, I mean, it was an amazing experience. And I think, you know, we worked, I've done other work that is similar to this in the sense of like trying to write a song in a very short amount of time. Usually though, I'm putting it on stage with a piano part. And this time it was like, no, we're going all the way to full production music video. And so that was definitely new. And the time frame, I mean, the time frame was just like insane in terms of how far we had to get and how little time. The process was really like one of the most satisfying. You know, I could just kind of gush about it forever because we, you know, Jordyn and I sat down like after Jenn and Jordyn came to me with this idea, like we want to write a musical. Are you into like? Do you want to do this? And I was like, yeah, cool. I mean, it was really, it was like this relationship. You know, these two people. This idea of like, what if you imagine you're on a date and you all of a sudden discover this, like the date is going amazingly well. And then all of a sudden you have to reckon with this, like, holy, like what, you know, oh my God, right. How are we going to navigate this? Or is this just going to be like, we're just going our separate ways now? And I think, you know, Jordyn and I talked a lot about how that moment gets navigated. And I think ultimately the song reflects that, which is that we knew we didn't want that political schism in our country right now. It's often sort of like, if you recognize that difference between you and someone else, you just assume there's nothing left to talk about. That you can just go your own way. Right. However, we had set it up that these two people are like on the verge of falling in love. Potentially they've already had like the moment of like, oh my God, maybe I could spend the rest of my life with this person. And then they get this information and they have to reckon with it. And then there's this, you know, and the message again comes in this song comes largely from Jordyn. You know, this could be a much longer musical where there's more back and forth, but and Stafford, you would get to sing in that version also.
Thank you. I was waiting.
You know,
I was waiting for you to get to that.
The conversation with Jordyn was always like, well, okay, where, you know, the song has to say what it needs to say. It has to deal with BLM. It has to deal with all of these issues that have happened over the course of the last 4 years, and it has to not pull punches, but it also has to not cancel out this other human, and it also has to leave in some ways the door open to like maybe we could have a relationship. And so that's where we kind of were crafting, like, and again, this is like back to my own work. I've done a lot of work in satire, and in satire you don't have to do that. In satire you just make fun of the other person and you come up with the best lines and the funniest things to say, and you cut them down and you walk away. This was not that. This was never going to be that because of the premise. So it was a really interesting kind of new way of navigating the songwriting process for me, where it was always like, okay, it's got to come back to the heart. Like the heart on both sides of this message had to be there. So that was really what was so satisfying about it. I should just credit, you know, I'd say I did about 75% of the production. And then I do have a friend in New York who did kind of like the final production on it. And all the sparkle and pizzazz like that, I can't take credit for all that. Like he really makes it sound like a top 10 hit, you know? But all the composition side and the orchestration, all that stuff is mine. So yeah, but it was I just loved this process. I had so much fun. And then watching it go to picture was like incredible.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that is amazing about this community that you guys have created is that you all are, you know, very talented in your own, you know, lane, if you will. And then we're able to come together in a short time period and pull this off. I mean, that is very amazing. I mean, you didn't just go out, take a camera and have people stand around and sing something. I mean, this was a legit big production with a lot of moving parts. But the most important thing, it was done before the election and in COVID pandemic times. So Jordyn, tell us about how you made sure everyone was safe on set.
Well, it was definitely like, this was my first time producing, and Jenn was on the heels, or right, she was about to go into another production too. So she'd had a foray into what it was like to be on set during a pandemic. So that obviously was invaluable. We were so careful. And I can say that personally, I haven't left my house. This was the biggest thing that I got to do in 2020, and be around other people and everybody there. We wanted to be safe. So we took all of the and actually, a lot of our budget went to COVID testing, like a huge budget went to COVID testing, because Stafford and I had to have our rapid tests, and everybody on set had to be tested. And we also had a rock star of a safety health officer, Belle Allen. She's on the board of New Mexico Women in Film, and we love her so much. She was like just the queen. She just hyped everybody up and was so excited, and then also made sure we were all spaced out. We had PPE. No one was coming on set without a negative test result. Like, she was in a really difficult position because she had to make some hard calls, because there were times when we didn't know if we were going to have our test results in time for a sound guy who was supposed to be on set. And then Robin stepped in and became our sound engineer on the day. Like I said, our team is amazing, and we had to not let someone come on set because we couldn't get a hold of his negative test results that we knew he had. So anyway, I think, Jenn, do you have anything you want to add on what it's like to run a set during COVID?
I think you covered most of it. Belle was definitely the key point. Obviously, Jordyn and Stafford are unions, so we had to get everything cleared by the unions as well. And it was a whole process to like get everything approved, get everybody the right PPE and masks, and make sure we were separated. And like, even from the beginning, when we were conceptualizing like what this would be, Jordyn knew she had to write a scene outside, and we had to shoot outside, and we needed to keep people outdoors as much as possible. And the project was kind of built to be a pandemic safe film, and we made sure we did everything we could to keep everyone safe, and it worked.
So tell us, Jenn, how did creating this musical with COVID, how was that different from you doing another project like Piche, which is an also amazing short film? I love that film, first of all. But how is it different? Was it a lot more time, a lot more moving parts, a little harder? Give us a little insight into the comparison to before and after COVID.
It was definitely harder. We made sure we needed to keep our crew really slim. There were a bunch of people that had reached out to Jordyn who wanted to be on set and be part of this, and we couldn't have everybody because we wanted to limit the number of people on set. And if this was before COVID, we would have said, of course, come on set, be part of this. We would love to have you. But we had to be really limited with who we let on set, just to keep everybody safe. Beforehand, just getting things processed through the union, like you need to make sure your labs have CLIA numbers, and you need to get tests. Like poor Stafford and Jordyn, we had them test too early in the week, so we had to get them retested. By the end of the week, we had shoved 3 swabs up their noses, and
it was a little tender. It was a little tender by the time we started shooting. I'm not gonna lie.
And so if this was before COVID, it wouldn't have even been an issue. And like, we had to budget time at the beginning of the day because everybody needed to check in with Belle, fill out the health and safety survey, get their PPE for the day. And that took some time. So it's a process, but it's worth it.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I was going to say, just adding on the safety factors to reduce the risk, increases the time that you have to be in production or be, filming. And And so that's also kind of a pain, but you know, everyone came out without COVID. Yay. No shutdowns. Yay. What a bunch of professionals. You got this.
Can I add one more thing?
Sure.
So a lot of us, well, I don't think well, I've worked with Stafford. I've been with Stafford before, but we hadn't met in person. So as this thing was coming together in the creative process, it was all over Zoom. We were doing this remotely up until the day, and Robin and I hadn't met in person until really a few days out before shooting, because that's when we had to record. So it was really interesting to creatively come together and have to do it all with COVID safety measures and be in like cities apart from each other. I know when we were talking with our DP and cinematographer, he was in Las Cruces, and so it was me, MorningStar, Jenn, and Luis all on Zoom trying to articulate what it is that we wanted to see on screen, and we pulled it off. I mean, not because of me. I didn't know how to storyboard anything. I was like, I kind of want it to look like this, and then MorningStar's, well, I think this is what she's saying, so she would translate to our DP. But anyways, so I was so proud and amazed, because if you told me, I don't know, I just couldn't imagine making anything this collaborative or musical without being able to be in the same room with another person. But we managed to pull it off, and everyone came out healthy, and we have a beautiful film. So there's that.
So MorningStar, I saw some overhead shots. Were you up on a ladder at some point? No.
Essentially, the location that we faked for the restaurant was a house. So the outside was their backyard, and then they had a patio space. So they were all down below, and I was basically up top with Robin and Jenn and a whole bunch of other people at a monitor.
Okay. All right. That's a lot of fun. So what was your favorite part of this whole production, MorningStar?
Oh, I don't know if I'm the right person to ask that.
Well, yeah, as a director, what was your favorite part in doing this?
I mean, it should be said that like I hit the ground running. I was approached maybe a week and a half before we started shooting. So I wasn't involved in pre-production very much. It just was kind of like, all right, this is our location. How can we make this work? This is what Jordyn wants. How can we make this work? So in a way, in the beginning, like for those few days I was there, I approached it from an AD mind and then came at it from a director mindset. I think for me, I didn't quite know what was my favorite as it was happening because it was very chaotic. But I think overall it was just the trust that I had from Jordyn, because we didn't know each other very well. So we had very limited conversations, and I kind of just had to come in there like, okay, no introductions because that's not a luxury we have. So like, this is what we need to do. And luckily that wasn't met with any sort of like, whoa. So I think it was that. It was literally just the trust that I was given as what I was being trusted with to bring to the table, and that, you know, no one was gonna be like, are you sure at any point? I think that was very nice because it felt that way all around. And I think that's something like any filmmaker can say, when you don't feel trusted by the top, you're bound to fail. You're set up to fail. So without that trust being established, I would have failed irregardless, and thus everyone below me would have failed. So I think, you know, it's really important to give Jordyn and Jenn the props that they deserve in terms of they threw it together very short term and very quickly. However, they themselves established a very good line of communication and said, like, this is our focus, safety, all these things. So I knew what to focus on. I didn't feel like I had to run in gloves on, like, we need to be safe. Everyone was on board.
Right. No, that's good. It's definitely a mark of good producers whenever they have these things mapped out. So you can come in, one, understand what your job is and what is, you know, what ideas they have for that, and then be able to carry it out as a team in a short time period. I mean, literally, I'm blown away at, one, the final project, but two, how you guys, you know, did this, pulled it off. I mean, and it's proof that anyone can do it if they've got the planning and they've got, you know, some people that can join in, even if you have to self-shoot yourself and do it. There is a way. I mean, it's not the best way, but this is absolutely a great example of going out and making something and not sitting around saying, I want to make it. So Stafford.
Yeah.
How fun was it for you to be in this project?
Oh, I mean, I loved it. Like I said, it had been just, almost a year since I had been on set previously. So I mean, Jordyn didn't even really have to tell me what it was about. I was just like, yes, point a camera at me, please. I need it. And just, I mean, I don't know if I can even really say all that much more about. I feel like everyone's covered it so well, and just that this beautiful community of people came together. Some of whom I had worked with before, Jordyn and Jenn. Most I didn't. This is my first time meeting MorningStar, meeting Robin, meeting the vast majority of everyone else. But it just was. It was one of the most loving, safe, supportive, fun sets I've ever been on, which is crazy given that we did this during the pandemic, as you said. And I'll just expand on that, in that there's all the precautions and everything that holds it up. But the other tough thing is that, movies are just, when you're on a set, it's a very touchy, close, messy thing. And that's one of the things that's so beautiful about it. And when they yell cut and everyone has to whip on masks and stand 6 feet apart, it makes it very difficult to keep that level of fun and playfulness that you kind of need. So it sort of required everyone to kind of really up their game and really stay positive and trust, as Morningstar said. And I think everyone did that just so beautifully. And it was an interesting character to play. I'm the bad guy, essentially. And I wanted to find some humanity, but also what I really find beautiful about it is that, we don't make him he's not a mustache twirling villain, but he's also wrong. He is, and we say he is, I literally the title of the film is You Can't Have It Both Ways. And I'm really honestly kind of sick of this sort of argument that we hear so many times of well, it's just a difference of opinion, or well, you believe that, whatever. It's, yes, technically it is, but also we're living in a time where we just kind of have to say, no, that's wrong, that is bad, I do not agree with you. And I don't want to, as great as this date is going or whatever, I don't want to pursue this relationship because what you believe is so, and who you support is so far beyond I consider to be, moral and correct. And I don't know. I felt like Robin and Jordyn especially found a really beautiful balance between not making him this like overtly racist, misogynist, mustache twirling villain, but also saying you're wrong and you don't get the girl in the end, and that is okay. And we have to be okay kind of saying that. So weirdly in this little musical short film, I found this really kind of nice, complex character to dig into. And I just had a blast doing it. And then acting across Jordyn is just always the best.
That sounds like you're sucking up for an autograph or something. I don't know.
Just all I want is to sing in the next one. I just got to stay in her good graces because I want to sing in that's all.
Well, a lot of times shorts are made into features, so they could have a whole score of songs for 2 hours for us to sing along to. Jenn, imagine that.
Yeah, I made sure Jordyn, I made her sign a bunch of paperwork saying you can't go to anyone else. If it's all me. I'm just kidding.
The feature-length version, Stafford will get his own song.
Yeah, exactly. Have I made that clear enough yet?
I think we even have it recorded here for posterity, Stafford. So one day, never know.
Am I coming across as a little desperate?
No, not thirsty at all. Not thirsty at all. So Robin, can you give us a little view into what part of the words or because it goes from, nice pop ballad to, kind of a hip hop kind of changeover. So you're really putting a lot of words in a short time period for people like me who don't talk that fast. I mean, I have to have practice. to hear that song more and more. Because when I sing songs, my son is always saying, no, you don't know the words. Don't sing.
Right. Even when you think you know the words. So sorry. I mean, you know, it's a good question. I mean, I think, you know, it's like, one of my favorite things to do, and this is just always, I honestly don't know kind of where it came from, other than it's just kind of my passion, but I love writing songs for characters. And I've always been kind of drawn to it, and musical theater, especially now, you know, we're in the post Hamilton musical theater era, which means that like, it's like a door has been opened into how musical storytelling can be executed and can be even conceived. And I think I was definitely excited, you know, when Jordyn came to me with this idea, I was like, let's make it a pop song. It should be a pop song, and it should have a hip hop groove to it. And like so like in a way, the hip hop feel was the first thing that I latched onto. And then as we started to construct the concept, you know, I think we found the hook. You can't have it both ways in like one of our earlier conversations. And then we had just a ton of lyrical content that we took some from, or we took things and then repurposed them. And I mean, that little, you know, the kind of pop feel was just, it just felt like it was the right feel, the right genre to hold the theme, basically. You know, that's what you're always looking for in musical theater, is like, what style of song, especially in satire, but especially in a song like this, what style of song holds the theme? So in this case, it was like, well, it's got to hold love. It's got to hold like a romantic ballad. Like this would be a pop song to a lover or whatever. And it's got to have an angry edge to it. It's got to be able to express things that are not pleasant. And it's got to be able to really kind of use a knife to cut and to discriminate and to draw lines and draw boundaries. So I think, you know, there's always a little bit of mystery in it for me. Like I start writing and the song kind of comes, and then eventually it's like you feel it in, you know, it's like you're doing things on purpose, and then things are happening naturally, and then you do things on purpose, and then they happen, you know, then they happen magically. That's always a little bit the way it is. And I felt like, you know, Jordyn and I, it was like, once we decided to write a musical, what we realized was like, there was just a ticking clock to the election. And it was like, well, if we want to let this video get out there with any time for anybody to watch it before the election happens, that means we should at least have a month left before the election. So that puts us beginning of October. So that means like we just had to, like, the song had to just poof into existence immediately so that anything else could happen. And so that it was really like, we were meeting every day. I mean, pretty much every day for a good couple weeks there. And like, it just all happened in that cauldron. It all just happened in that kind of first crucible, which is how I love to write. You know, it's the best way to write, because you just get to go down the rabbit hole of a concept and just live there until it comes out.
Cool. Awesome. Jordyn, you have something else to add? Or is she dancing to the song? I can't.
What Robin was saying.
Because before you guys, Jordyn said you were all prepared to sing the song at the end. No, just kidding.
Surprise! Surprise! Well, I wanted it to be like this romantic Disney princess-esque kind of character. And then all of a sudden, she's having this really intense and difficult conversation. And at the very beginning, it was like, well, what direction do we want to go in with this? And I was like, I like pop. That sounds great. But we found that we needed to have the rap in there. And I was like, this is exciting. This reminds me of Hamilton. I love this, because there was just so much to say. And there was no way that you could sing all of it, that it could lyrically, that we could get to the point that we were making without having these rap verses, because she needed to pontificate and really say, okay, this is what's wrong with the way you're seeing things. And we had to have both elements. But I sent all of these inspiration kind of songs to Robin between Demi Lovato and Katy Perry and Carmen, which was a duo, this husband and wife that would do like acoustic rap covers. And I was a little nervous that he wouldn't know what to do with it, because everything I was sending him is so like syrupy and poppy and very energetic. But he took all of that and just took and let it percolate, and then created this incredible balance of exactly what we needed. And I thought I just could not have asked for a better group of artists to work with, because the alchemy of this project, and I'll say this over and over again, we had such a tight timeline that if we didn't jive, if we couldn't communicate almost like on a telepathic level, I think in some ways, if we weren't able to find that synergy together in the amount of time that we had, this project wouldn't have happened. And I still am confused as to how we came up with this thing and this song and this film that's a finished project. I'm just like, how?
No, you just don't want to share how brilliant you guys all are to have accomplished this. I know it's hard to pat yourself on the back, but honestly, you accomplished an amazing feat, especially as, I don't want to say as young professionals, but it's not like you have produced 50 films in your time. And to be able to, one, trust each other across the board, because that's what I'm seeing, you guys are almost like a family here, to pull this off it's just amazing. And I'm so excited to see the world's reaction to not only your finished product, but understanding that these are projects that, one, you're very passionate about. This is, I guess you could call it a passion project, but it wasn't something that you thought of and then sat on a shelf for 20 years. It's something that you thought of and you did it. So with that said, what is the one thing, I'm going to let you think about this for 1 minute while I go around. So what is the one thing you learned from this? Considering you walked into this, fresh, what your past experience is, but what is the thing that you learned that you're going to carry over to your next project? And we'll start with, let me spin the wheel. Stafford.
Ah, darn.
You look too comfortable over there.
I know. I have too good a poker face, or maybe a terrible one. I don't know. What did I learn? I learned that it is important to, it kind of to what you're speaking to, and I think maybe is sort of the nice unifying theory of our conversation here is just make it. I have been in big studios, have projects that toil in development hell, and that is exactly the same on an interpersonal and individual level. We as artists especially have so many tools at our disposal to talk ourselves out of doing things. We're not good enough. It's too expensive. They're not going to want to work with me. It's the idea is not good. I just need a little more time to think. We have so many ways to talk ourselves out of it. And, it's sort of weirdly comfortable to do that. But then what you end up with is another year goes by and you haven't made that thing. What's worse, making the thing and it maybe not being exactly what you wanted, but you're learning from it, or sitting there and saying, oh man, I had this really great. You don't want to be that one guy who's always like, I've got this really great idea, and they're like, make it, and you're like, one day, So, that doesn't mean rush into it half-cocked with a half-baked idea, not really knowing what you're doing, but it does mean that there is sort of I think each project kind of hits a boiling point, and it's a natural thing, and you kind of have to know to just sort of take that leap and to make it, because even if you crash and burn, it's just it's a cliche at this point, but that's where the best learning comes from. And you're not going to learn from continuing to think about this project for 20 years. You're going to learn by doing it and failing at some parts and succeeding at others and doing it better next time. So this sort of had a natural ticking clock to it with the election and all that. But I think even if it didn't, the people behind it sort of were working with that principle of, I have this idea, let's make it come hell or high water. And there were some high waters during this, the pandemic and the time frame and all the logistics, but they did it, and it's here. And I think we're all better people for it. So that's really what I learned, was just strengthening that idea of, there is a time to make these things, and you gotta lean into it and not talk yourselves out of it, because you'll always be better for doing it.
Right. Awesome. Great. Robin.
Well, so I'm just going to piggyback on what Stafford said, since since he went first. But so there's a great quote, and this is what I've come back to this again and again and again. There's a great quote by Leonard Bernstein, which is, to make a great piece, to make something great, you need two things. You need a great idea and not enough time. And that's exactly what we had. That's what we had. And so, and I mean, this kind, you can hear, if you read about it, like you hear stories about West Side Story and all of his work. But I really think, I've learned that lesson many times, and at the same time, I feel like it's one that continues to be a valuable lesson, because it's like, I've had pieces brewing in my own head for long periods of time. Some of them have come out and a lot of them haven't. And it's like, there's this way in which, political stuff is almost like, it's almost great, because it's like, you either are going to do it now or you're not going to do it, because it's only relevant now. Right. So there's a nice way in which just having a political idea, you take it very seriously, the decision of like whether to go forward or not, because it's like, that's not going to go in your like bag of things you're mulling over forever, because it's going to be over here shortly. Right. And so I think that's one of the sort of built-in advantages or built-in features of a piece like this, which is great. But I think for myself, I think what I learned is like, just dive in, like do the thing that you don't, because I also will say, like, this was a great idea from the beginning, but it was also very, very nebulous and very larval in a way. Like it wasn't exactly clear what was going to happen in the song. It wasn't exactly clear what was going to happen between the two people or how it was going to end. All of that clarity came from creating the piece, not from knowing in advance what we were going to create. And so I think the lesson that I'm extracting from it is like, just because this idea that I have is only like 75% clear, that doesn't mean don't do it now, because now's the time. Like, and that the journey and the construction process and the just saying, like putting a deadline on the calendar, that process will really, that's where the rest is going to come from. It's not going to come from it sitting on the shelf any longer,
Right. Great. Okay. Jenn.
Trying to think of like a different line of an answer, but I guess never be afraid to ask, because we asked for a lot of favors throughout this. And something we haven't touched on is that while we were making the song and producing it and pulling together this project, we were also fundraising at the same time. And Jordyn made a sweet little video just saying like, hey, I want to make something, like if you have any, like if you want to see this come to life, like please send money to our Venmo. And we couldn't even set up a real crowdfunding platform. We just set up a Venmo account and said, hey guys, we want to make a musical and it's political. If you agree with us, send us money. And a lot of people did.
Yeah, a crowdfunding is 60 days to run. So you you couldn't even do that. Otherwise you would be way into the end of last year.
Exactly. And with my experiences with crowdfunding campaigns, like it's a longer timeline where once even you finish your campaign, like it takes time for the money to process. And like we would have been way past the election if we tried to crowdfund this the right way. So we just kind of made up our own way of doing this, and it worked. And it turned out that, like, I don't know, we we're nervous to like bring on all of these people because we're like, oh, well, they want to do this, like, and give all of this time to this project. And sure enough, they did. Robin wanted to do it, and MorningStar wanted to do it, and Stafford wanted to do it. And everybody we brought on was really excited to be a part of this. And so I think if anything, that's what I learned through this process was never hurts to ask.
Exactly. What can they say? No. And then you say, okay, thank you, move on. And now you're collaborating for other projects together, which is even more amazing because that's how you get to the, elevate yourself and then work with others, and bring more people in and learn more from other people. So that's amazing. MorningStar, what did you learn from this process for this film?
Let's see here. Let's start a whole new train of thought. I think for me, I learned showing up isn't enough. It's one thing to tell people that, like when they're not showing up for you. And I think that was the role of Jordyn's character, to be like, you're not showing up for me the way I want you to. And I think like I'm constantly trying to find ways that film influences my personal life, because I think it does. It's like Stafford said, it's intimate work. So how can it not influence how we're intimate with other people? And I think for me, it was really like digesting what we were doing and what we were trying to do. And me and Jordyn constantly pulling each other aside, like, no, we need it to be this way because of this. We don't want to villainize Stafford, but we want to let him know he's wrong. But he isn't the villain, he's human. And I think that's the thing with Jordyn. So I think for me, it was learning how can we show up better, like across the board. And I think that was another great thing with Jordyn and Jenn, like I said, is in terms of they kind of set the tone, and that's how films go. The tone is set up top. Producers, directors, writers, they all set the tone. And then everything else trickles down. So I think for me, it was just seeing that in practice and being a part of that. Like just jumping in and saying like, whatever you give me, I'll work with. So I think on a personal note, it was also, I didn't know I could multitask like that. I had no idea I could run around with an AirPod in one ear and then direct with the other ear. No idea.
And you didn't have to split your brain in two, right?
No, I did.
Oh, you did.
I was going through a writer's lab at the same time, and
wow.
we met during shooting. So I was literally doing my writer's lab and giving everyone else, 7 people in the lab, feedback on their scripts while simultaneously directing Jordyn, simultaneously giving feedback to set design, all of these things. So I guess it was one of those things where I was like, it doesn't hurt to try.
Right. So not only being
that's the thing I learned.
Not only being a multi-hyphenate, you're a multitasker. We'll just add that asterisk to your name.
But don't lead with that, because I never want to do that again. It's just good to know that I can.
Perfect. Jordyn, what did you learn?
What did I learn? Oh, wow. I learned so much making this film. Like I said, this is the first short that I've produced. And I think that actually benefited me because I didn't really know how things were done. And I think the deadline that we had and the spark of inspiration for this piece, it had this momentum to it. And I don't know, I didn't have time to be scared, and we didn't have time for mistakes either. And I think the most important thing I learned from this whole process is how important it is to have wonderful people around you and talented people around you, because again, I will say this over and over again, this would not have happened. We would not have the film we have. It wouldn't exist if we didn't have the perfect team. And this experience for me in this film has had kind of this magical, mysterious quality to it, because when I look back, I really don't understand how we pulled this off. When I made the video of basically kind of like a crowdfunding pitch video, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, Jenn, I think we need more money. So I'm going to make a little video and I'll send it to you and you can tell me what you think. And I know people might think we're crazy because it's not crowdfunding. We're personally asking people for their money, and we have no insurance as far as, okay, we don't know if it's going to get made. So I don't know if we send your money back or not. So that was on the line, our reputations. That was kind of scary, but it worked. So I think that naivete actually sort of served me, but everything I've learned I will take into the next film. But most importantly, just like I said, knowing incredible people and how important relationships are and treating others with respect. And I wish I had so much money to give everyone on this film because everyone deserves it. But I am, rather than something that I learned that I can take moving forward, I guess I'm just in awe and so grateful that the people that found their way to this team and to this project, that somehow they showed up, and everyone who signed on was fully committed. And there was at one point where MorningStar was directing the dancers in the scenes when they're moving the signs. And we have some really funny behind the scenes footage of her directing Stafford that I will share with you guys. But I was like wiping tears away because it was so powerful to be around such an incredibly talented and kind and generous group of people who were there serving this story. And I feel like it was just a privilege to be a part of it. Like we almost like channeled this thing, and everyone just showed up and decided to do it. And I get even kind of teary-eyed talking about it now, and I don't take it lightly because I think that we made something really special, and the only way it would have been possible is with the exact talented team of people that we have. And beyond talent and beyond skill, I think the thing that is most moving to me with this project and with this particular group is the amount of heart and generosity underneath it. Because I mean, Robin's parents, our location was Robin's parents' home. It was their backyard. Everyone wore so many hats. Our makeup artist, she actually donated to the film to help fund it, and then said, I want to do makeup. And she's the makeup artist for Breaking Bad, Ashlyn Padilla. She's amazing. And I know I'm missing people, and Jenn, please chime in. I know we need to credit everyone, but everyone who was there, it was just this incredibly moving thing for me to see how committed everyone could be. And oh yeah, I want to say our choreographer, she choreographed the thing. Like we talked about it, and then she taught everyone on the day. Like, wow. I don't know. I'm so grateful and just in awe of everyone who was a part of this. And I want to say thank you to all of you. And I hope that, you know, the world likes our movie and we all have a calling card from this film someday, but no promises. I'm not sure what will happen, but know that in my career, this is like the thing that I'm most proud of. And I've done shows on Netflix and done other things that I guess are bigger, but this to me was the most impactful project I've been a part of. Sorry, that was really long.
Oh no, it's like you say, when I saw it for the first time, not only did I play it in my house, but everyone started singing it because the words are catchy. But it was really refreshing to see how original, how impactful. I mean, it did speak to me, and it was something that I was excited to find out more, and reaching out to you, and here we are with the creatives, some of the creatives, but it's been wonderful taking time to learn more about you guys and how the project went. I know you'll inspire many others who watch this and then who see your film and want to, not be afraid to make something, right? And that's the key is this is something to learn from. You learn from it, and you gain a bunch of wonderful people that are now collaborative artists that you can, work with again and again and again and again and again. So we appreciate your time today, everyone. And we look forward to seeing how the film does in the festival world. I'm sure it will be hitting a lot of high notes, if you will. So
Thank you, Stephanie. Thanks
You're
for having
welcome.
Really
Thanks,
fun.
Stephanie.
Thanks, everybody. That was awesome. Okay.